Good morning, Giants. Welcome to another episode of Wake Up with Giants TV, the podcast where we delve deep into the secrets of living a giant life. And if you've wondered how to awaken your inner autonomy, this is going to be the show for you. So hang tight. We've got another great episode for you. Good morning, Giants. Welcome back. I'm Nick Smith, author of The Giants and the Smalls and co-creator of 12 Journeys Coaching, along with Mr. Ryan Morris, who is not here today. He's on vacation, and so we're covering the show. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items. If you haven't done this yet, make sure you go over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. We could always use more subscribers there. Plus, you get up-to-date announcements and alerts about our new episodes when they do come up. There's over 600 pieces of video content on that channel for you. Also, come over and join us on the Tribe of Giants in Facebook. And as an announcement, SG11, which is the official training program of the Giants, starts on July 19th at 11 a.m. MDT. So we'll be doing that by Zoom. So if you want to be a part of that, you can go to, let me see if I can drop this in the chat here, 12journeyscoaching.com and read more about it, see if that's going to be a fit for you and your journey. And then if you're an AI nerd like I am, check out our newest program, the AI Coach Mastery, where we teach coaches how to utilize artificial intelligence in their businesses to create a better coaching practice. And so you can check that out in the comments as well. So we've got another great guest, a truly remarkable person. We've got Ranjan Kumar, Varanasi, who has over a quarter century of experience in personal growth. He's dedicated his life to accelerating inner autonomy and empowering self-growth experts and leaders to amplify their personal influence authentically. So as a professional coach on authentic influence, he's touched over 50,000 lives, fostering personal impact through clarity, connection, and creation. His book, Hit Your Restart Button, soared to #1 Amazon new release and #2 bestseller within just 15 days of its release back in 2017. So Ranjan has shared the stage with international leadership experts like Robin Sharma, David Shing, and Steve Hardison at the Ultimate Experience India, a summit he created, which generously donated $24,000 to supporting human trafficking victims. So recognized as an iconic trainer in Junior Chamber International, Ranjan's mission is to create a worldwide community of authentic influencers, accelerating inner autonomy. And we are ready to dive into his journey. So Ranjan, welcome to the show. And we do have a bit of a delay.
Thank you so much, Nick.
You're welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. We're going to work with the delay here.
And it's really great to see, and let's play with technology.
Absolutely. So I want to dive into your story. So when we go through the 12 journeys, our goal is to have people see themselves in your journey and your experience. And so I'd imagine there was a point in your life where you had an awakening to who you are today, to your way of giving back to the world. Can you go into that for us? And it might be a big delay, guys. Or a really big delay. We'll go for that. So we'll hang tight for a minute here. What's up, Ryan Morris, Vanessa? Ranjan, did you get that question? It shut off completely there.
I couldn't get that question. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, we like to dive into, India is a long ways away. We like to dive into your story about how you got into what you got into. So
you could just
And we may have to postpone our show. We'll see if technology is going to go really slow.
Rian says India is a long way away, and yeah, Nick, can you repeat the question? Is it about my story? I couldn't hear the question.
It is about your story. So tell us how you got started and what you're doing.
All right, Nick, I couldn't hear it, but I'm very sure it's about my story. And I would like to start somewhere in a way probably that would help us dive deeper into the conversation. And uh, this was about being highly influenced by people who were trying to compare me with the outside world, people who were trying to compare me with people who were more successful, people who were more richer, and people who were in more lucrative jobs, and that's what they were comparing me with. And I was sinking deep into, I was getting stuck in this I am not enough story. And I remember I was somewhere stuck in somewhere, deeply stuck in the story of I'm not enough, I'm not rich enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not educated enough, I do not have the qualifications. And the stories were like always looking at what others look me the way others look me at. And uh, I was deeply stuck in the weaker story of my own family, the background, and my the stories that nobody from my family was that educated, and my dad never went to school, my mom never went to school. And this entire thing was years and years. And I still remember, there was a point in life when I felt that uh, I'll not be accepted. I'll not be accepted until I am rich. I'll not be accepted until I am good enough. I'll not be accepted until I'm educated enough. I'll not till I'm successful enough in the outside world. And that kind of became a story of that I am not a part of this society, and I don't belong. And that is where my story was fully set in life. I had to start my livelihood. I had to create a job for myself. And but then these stories were keeping me stuck. And at one point, I remember I was not taking action because I was believing in those stories of not enoughness. And at one point, uh, I think it was 1998, the November of 1998, and almost without food for about a month. And that was a point when something happened in my life, and I decided that I have to recreate my entire story. And yes, Nick, there are multiple points in life when I call it in my workshops, I call it turning points. You have something that happens in your life, and all of a sudden something shifts, and your story takes a turn. And that kind of a turning point happened for me. I would say divide my whole 25 years of, and the first phase was a very spiritual phase, when something happened inside me, that it was weird. It was not that I was acquainted with. And I had some, you call it paranormal, or metaphysical kind of an experience, that I realized that I was beyond this physical body. And that is when I started getting in touch with the spiritual, the literature in India. And I got into all kinds of spiritual learnings. I got into Paramahamsa Yogananda's training, Swami Vivekananda's training, and that was the first phase of my change, that I had been through even 1998. But the second phase of my turning point in material life, uh, yeah, sure, you can ask me the questions in the the second phase happened when I was working for a pittance, a very meager salary, which could be around per month, as a receptionist at a place, at a medical diagnostic center, in a small town in Orissa of India. And that is when the only thing that I had with me were books. I was a reader, and I was reading and reading, because that was the only thing I could do in my free time. And I read this book called Tough Times Never Last, but Tough People Do by Robert Sculler. I read this book, and I learned that most of the things in our life are ideas. And I learned that everything is an idea. And we need to treat it like an idea. And that's the first time I learned that it's an idea that you have about life. It's an idea that you are creating and manifesting in the physical life. And that's when I wanted to experiment with this book, that, oh, is it real? Because my life is I experienced it for about 6 months, and I want to become an author. I want to become a published author. Can I become it? Can I just become an author? Can I write a book? I don't have money enough to create a book. I don't have connections enough to create a book. I don't have anything to say. That was the first time I worked on my idea, and I became a published author. I wrote a book in my native language, and it was in less than a year when I got the book published. And with almost the kind of life money in my pockets. And that's when, and yeah, that's that. Yeah, can you repeat that?
Yeah. So the question, can I love that. How can I do this? Can I do this? To see as a possibility. And I like the idea of doing this in the chat because the delay's so long here that it seems like you're getting the comments quicker. So I'm going to do it that way.
Yeah,
This is an
so
interesting show. Yeah.
that's how I created a question for myself. Can I do something? And that's how I started my story. That was the first turning point in my life, Nick.
I'm going to type this in, guys, because of the delay here. So the question I have is diving into the ideas and how those create reality. You guys will get a sense of how I type here. Let's see if we can get this going here. Uh, there. Let's try that on. Good morning, Erica. Let's go back to that question there. Ranjan, can
But
you
dive
can
into
you
the
read that?
ideas and how they create reality. Yes, Nick. That's when my how life functions and my understanding of that there is a universal force that need. And that's when I understood that things don't move, things don't happen because you don't decide. The delay was that I was not deciding, I was not getting committed enough, and that was the delay. And the moment I decided, started happening. And once I decided to become an author, that is exactly when networks and networks and everything started showing up in my life. And that's when I understood for the first time that when you decide to do something, when you create a universal force, and I'm not talking about something vague, I'm talking about something that universe is waiting, and decision is that first ignition of your entire creativity and everything that you want to create in life. And I still remember, I created a number of things in my life with absolutely nothing except and what I would do after that so powerful. Things show up when you decide. And how do you handle things when they don't fit your ideas? Every time I would have a setback, every time things don't work, every time things don't happen the way I expect them to happen, I believe that universe is hand holding me to something better. That universe is hand holding me to something much better than what I had asked for. And this faith I developed is a secret that I, whether you call it in my professional life, and whether you call it and whether you call it in my personal life, things look like things are not working, but then I would realize a year or 2 years from that the universe was preparing me for something bigger and something
Yeah, keep doing this because we'll do our best with what we have here. I'm going to share a thought real quick because
what is.
sometimes you have a situation where you have an ideal of what you want to create in your world. So this show is an example. The show is a great demonstration of what Ranjan is talking about. That you take the resources that are available to you and you create with those. And they may not be ideal resources, but it is what you have. And in this case today, we're working with technology to create a show when there's a pretty big delay coming across the ocean here, but we're going to work with it, and we're going to take what is and we're going to adapt and adjust to it and still create a powerful show. So I'm having the idea that we are able to work with what is to create what we have in mind. And sometimes it's not what we would like to have to work with. We would like to have all of the resources and access to everything. Ranjan, can you talk about that? Can you talk about working with what is? Let me try and put that in the chat here. I'm a slow typer, guys, but we'll do our best here. So I'm going to put this in the chat. Ranjan, can you talk about what
There's a bit of
working with what is to create?
yes. Just give me a second, Nick. I think I am lecturing.
I like that, Hugh. Yeah, it's already
Give me a
created. We
second.
just get to decide what we're going to experience. We get to interpret it. Kind of goes into the ideals that he's talking about here, the ideas. This is great. This is a demonstration of life, and it's beautiful. Life sometimes goes this way, and you work with it. You just make it work. So, how can we create a show with what we've got? So we'll see if these comments will work here. In the comments, guys, as you're watching this, what are some of the questions that you have when it comes to this topic? So we're talking about awakening your inner autonomy, the idea of really creating freedom from within and expressing that without. So let's take those and we'll post those up as well. And if not,
Nick,
Ranjan and I will.
I
Yeah.
think this is a little better. Let's try again. Give me the question.
Okay.
The question. It
Well,
is about
so
is, right?
yeah, can you talk about working with what is in your environment? So, what you have, the resources you have available. Can you talk about working with those to create what you have in mind? I would imagine that you were in a space of limited resources.
Creating with what is available, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely, Nick. Yeah, people. Every time I would have the first question that anybody I shared this with would ask, how could you do it? You won't be able to do it. You're not that could help you create what you're talking about. And I I still remember the one thing that I've learned in these 25 years of creation is building the momentum enough, keeping the momentum going so far when the universe can just, universe, I believe, is looking for how long you are going to build the momentum. And it's not there. I know the one thing that I learned, Nick, is that yes, and the faith that you have, and the thing that I learned in life is that a desire is a seed that universe has intentionally planted in you. And if then universe wants you as its vehicle, the universe wants you as its channel, and it's momentum to be, to even to speak into the universe, to tell the universe that I am a vehicle fit enough to create this. And the universe is intelligent enough. Universe knows, and universe has intentionally chosen that an idea is planted into 7 human beings at the same time, and the first to take action, and the one who keeps the momentum going on, that is the vehicle which the universe supports in every possible way, and to make it larger, bigger, and grandiose, grander than even what the universe can imagine. we started with. And that that is what helped me, because I knew I didn't have money enough. And to be very, when I got this book printed, you won't believe, you know we were in the same financial conditions. My mom had to sell two of her gold bangles. My mom had to sell two of her gold bangles to have this book published and released. And I wanted to bring this book out, not as a professional thing, but as an evidence that we can create things. We can. And I would give an example of that, of, uh, it's not even, I've not believed in effort, uh, 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 Nick. I've believed in consistent action. Effort makes the journey as if, and thank you, Amy, for joining. And I that it's just having fun. It's just having fun taking that next step. And it's just having faith in your intuition, and being available for the universe to give you the idea. I didn't I didn't have even the budget to write the manuscript of this book. But I would go to a hotel. I would go to the receptionist, and I asked, can you give me this budget? Absolutely huge. So I would go to the receptionist, and I asked him, like, can you give me this waste bundle of papers? And I brought those telephone bills, on the backside of which there was, blank space. And I cut started writing my manuscript behind these papers. And I still remember it, completed the book. And absolutely, when I completed the book, I couldn't believe that I have created this. And what did I need? Sometimes I believe that we trick ourselves into believing that we need much more than we have, or much more than we actually need. And we underestimate what already exists with us. Yeah, you're a master of converting what is and being. Thank you so much, Nick. And I learned this. People have hundreds of small things available to them. We are more focused on what we don't have than what we have.
So, if you can answer this question here, how can people pay attention to the resources that are around them? So, you went and got papers, you borrowed, you grabbed whatever was left over, you wrote on the back of these sheets. I think this is pretty cool. For those that are tuning in right now, just to be aware, we're having to type in some of the questions because of the delay here. But the idea of taking an idea and being the seed of desire, so to speak, for that idea, taking it and creating with the resources that are around you, so you become resourceful and you're able to pull all this information or these needs into you and then convert them into what you have in mind. The universe planted that seed within you, and now it's up to you to take what's available to you to pull that and germinate it and create it into something in this reality. And I think it's really cool, Ranjan, if you talk about how can people open their eyes to the resources that are around them. What are some of your tools for doing that? Good morning, Christy. And for everybody that's tuning in, the delay is causing us to jump into the chat to do this conversation. So it's a great example of how to use what you have to be
Yeah,
resourceful
how can people
and to
open
create
their eyes
anyway.
to the resources that are around them? And
Perfect.
uh, uh, Nick, yeah, I got the question. Nick, here's how. The first thing is, what I learned is that people underestimate people underestimate the power of sitting with nothing but a pen and a paper. People just don't sit down and start working on the idea. And people, yeah, love that. Thank you, Christy. Yeah, thank you, Nick. So people underestimate the power of ideating. People underestimate on counting, a list of everything that already exists in their universe. People underestimate to even belong back somewhere, that if you go back into your study room, and if you even count the number of books that already exist in your Kindle, books that you already have in your bookshelf, I think it would take more than a year to even finish reading them and learning from them. And that is where what I did was I sat down with a pen and a paper, and I started creating ideas. I started listing everything, and I started working on what I have and what could be next my next step that I can take to just build the momentum. And I knew that if I build enough momentum, results will manifest. So instead of thinking about the big step that I would take, I would always think about where I could start, what I could do today for half an hour, what I can do today for 1 hour, and how do I keep adding to that. It's not about resources, it's about your resourcefulness. And I started focusing on that. I don't want to fake that in my house I would cry, I would cry alone, and I would sit alone, and I was depressed, and I was in pain, and I had nobody to talk to. But I know that in every phase, the one thing that you are doing there is listening to everything that you are speaking and creating. And that is exactly what I was doing, both in my personal life and professional life. Yes, resourcefulness over resourcefulness. Also, I would say, like, I would not just imagine that, I would sit with that. I would list everything that I have, and I would list more of the I I could meditate for 3 hours a day. I could sit in silence. I could ideate. I could create things first in my mind before I could manifest them on the outside. And that was more important to me. In a world where people are talking about distractions, I had the asset of focus. I had the asset resource of ability to, and I knew that when I have, oh yes, how important is surrender in the process. uh Nick, here's something that happened in my life. Since I was trying to prove myself in my journey, uh I remember that I was, again, time and again, I would find myself stuck in the chase game, and I would keep working so hard, but at times not being genuine about self-love. And pressure of building expectations. And I remember I came across this book by Michael Singer, The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. And once I read this book, my intention was actually to live and create a surrendered life. Because intuition, I've always had deep faith in life. And that is when I read this book by Michael Singer, The Surrender Experiment, the you know you read something and the dots get connected in your life, and that is what happened in my life. And I that every time I would create something from the foundation of sense of unworthiness, I would have setbacks. But each time, every time I created something from engaging in surrendered action and having faith that is a part of a bigger universal story. And I realized that life has to be a right blend of surrender and action. Kind of a lifestyle where I live a surrendered act. I create things from surrendered action. How do you switch your mindset from unworthiness to surrender and trust? Nick, very honestly, if I have to, uh, if I, this one thing which resonates very well from this book, in the what Steve Hardison shared in Before You Begin, the last sentence, it is: the best part about you is that it is endless. And that is what I realized. This journey of being, exploring, and experimenting is endless. And I sometimes feel unworthy. I know that this is a phase that I am going through. I still am open to listening to those inner talks that I am creating inside, which are holding me back. This is not a one-time job, because this is not a one-time job. Because we are, if talking from the Bhagavad Gita, I know that we are always in living in an illusion, and most of the times we illusions, and we pretend as if we are helpless. And every time I was stuck in this sense of unworthiness, the first thing that I would do is share my story with people who trusted in me. I would connect with them, and that's how I talk to people. Of the ultimate experience India and event, and how this autonomy you're talking about. Oh yes, I would be glad to, Nick. You know, I still remember when I was having this conversation with Laban Dishbon, and he asked me, Ranjan, I shared with him the last 3 days of conversation that I had with my mom when she was conversation before she passed away. I was talking to her. I repeatedly went back to her and asked, Mom, do you want something? Mom, what can I do for you? And during those last 3 days, the only thing she would say is, no, just be here, and no, just be here. And that is when I realized that a person who has lived these many years is not asking for anything except my presence. She is not asking for anything except my presence. And that is what I have, what I experienced in the loss of my mom. And then I realized that is what I that presence has something to do with yourself. You being available in the moment, and you being available to the person in front of you. And before anything, it's about you being available to yourself, connected with this understanding of being. And then Laban asked me, Ranjan, what do you want to create as a tribute to your mom? And I said, Laban, I want to create the ultimate experience. Are you available in the moment for what you say you want? Yes. uh, uh, you know, are you available in the moment for yes? It's a question. You ask for something. The point is, are you available to receive it? And every time I was stuck, I would be stuck, I would not be available. And my stories would steal me away from the moment. And Laban asked me, like, Ranjan, what do you want to create for your mom? I said, I want to create the ultimate experience in India. I want to create Steve Hardison spiritual realizations. And I said, I want to bring back this being movement. I want to bring being movement to India. And I want to help people see that you can be being centered, and that you can create a life that you desire. You can be the leader you want to be. You can create anything you want to create in your life from you being you, and you being available, and you being true. And yeah, it took a while for me to accept that I can create it. And then I got in touch with Steve Hardison, and that's how I created this event. But more importantly, I would like to give credit to all the people who involved with me in creation of this. And as the first 2 months of this story, the only thing I was doing, Nick, I was adding fuel. you know I was adding momentum. I was adding momentum to the story. I was uh, you know most of you are on the other side of the planet, and it's day for you when it's night for me in India. And I was sitting my whole nights, every single message on post on Facebooks, and everywhere, to add fuel. I was adding momentum, and I wanted to make it so big that the people see it. And that's exactly what is happening. Most of the people join when the momentum is big, but it takes a lot of action to create that size of a momentum. If it's all about each of us, why do we give credit to others? Thank you so much, Huge. It's 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 not about giving credit. It's about acknowledging their presence. I would say that there were many who added to this story. There were many people who created as part of the ultimate experience India. And most importantly, I acknowledge how Steve coached me for more than 25 hours and then how he appointed Ankush Jain, how he appointed Mike Coates, and how he put Gabby Puma and many others who joined with me to help me negotiate through this entire journey, to put up this international event, international experience in India. So yes, it's not about giving them credit. It's about acknowledging that in society. Did you ever feel frustration or overwhelm, and how did you navigate that? Absolutely. There were many times I was feeling overwhelmed. I felt that frustration. I felt I'm overwhelmed. That's why I say this is a never ending story. And every time you are overwhelmed, it's a message. It's universe wants you to see something that you are ignoring to see. And I was ignoring to see something when just 3 days ago Townsend Townsend sent me a message, and we chatted for a few minutes, and he helped me see what I was not seeing. And that's the reason we need to have people who see that in us, which we tend to ignore. So the one thing that always helped me during frustrations and during when I'm overwhelmed is to be open, to reach out to somebody and connect with somebody and ask for help. And this is so simple, yet people fake their confidence, and they pretend as if they don't need help. The best thing I would say is reach out to somebody, ask for help, and there are hundreds of people who are willing to help you. And is overwhelm just an idea like feeling stuck? uh, Maybe, you know and as I said, you know there's nothing happening. This is what I learned, and I have been learning from Steve Hardison coaching, or he's coaching others from their works, that there's nothing happening outside of your thinking. There's nothing happening outside of your thinking. And I believe that universe is designed to be an illusion. And I think there is a purpose, because it's the purpose is to help us accelerate our inner autonomy. So yes, it is an idea, and be stuck is an idea, but the idea is placed there to help you evolve, to help you grow, to help you see what's possible, and to help who you are in when you break that illusion, and when you see that, oh, it was just an illusion, and that of being, and being committed to create what you want to create in life.
I love this.
Thank you
So
so much.
for those that, yeah, for those that are tuning in, we're going to keep going here, but the idea of working with what is, as I reflect back on Ranjan's story, um, he goes from this awakening to there's got to be something more in my life, has an idea. I wonder what I could do. How can I do it? He thinks of writing a book, doesn't really have a lot of resources to write or create a book, goes and finds the resources around him, starts using those to create in the moment whatever he has in mind, starts to add fuel to that, nourish it, grow it, takes it to Amazon, becomes a number one bestseller, number two international, and continues to grow from there. Takes this event, the ultimate experience, the same thing, goes from an idea, starts adding fuel to the fire, takes the resources that are, and starts creating something powerful with what is. This show is another demonstration of that. How cool that, inside of a huge delay, there's a huge delay on the show today, but I think it's a demonstration. I don't think this is by accident here, to show us like sometimes you have to work with what is to create what you have in mind. And the ideas of overwhelm and frustration might be things that get you to look at things you're not looking at. And so I think that's powerful, because how often do we give up on our dreams because we can't see the solution immediately? I don't want to go into the unknown because I need to know how things are going to go before I step into the unknown. We don't have faith or trust in it. And so I think what Ranjan has given us is this idea that we are capable of creating with whatever we have around us. In essence, I think of the show MacGyver. If you guys can remember back to that show, he takes a tough situation, a challenging situation. He takes the resources around him and starts creating with it, and always comes up with a solution. I feel like Ranjan is the MacGyver of personal development and coaching. I don't know if that's a good thing to declare him as, but that's what I see him doing, is taking and being resourceful with what's around him. and creating with it. Ranjan, are you able to hear me, or is it still pretty delayed here? Yeah, Christy, we always work with what we have. Um, so, final question: what is your legacy, Ranjan? Let me see if I can post that in here. I type really slow. I type like this, guys. If you didn't know that, I speak it in usually and then back after it.
Yeah.
Yep. Go or no, not Ranjan. There. We'll get this right. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, yes. Vision. Uh, yes, Nick. My vision is to create a worldwide community of authentic influencers who lead inside out,
Hmm.
and that is what who lead inside out. And my purpose of life is accelerating inner autonomy. And I feel that universe has planted me here intentionally to help me accelerate inner autonomy. And I want to help people see that creation happens inside out, both in your personal and professional would be my life as my
Hmm.
message
I love that.
of
So,
being an authentic influencer, creating a worldwide community and who lead themselves inside out.
try this here. So, is there anything else you wish to share today, Ranjan?
And the most important thing that I had is the significance of presence. Is there anything else you wish to share today? Yeah, the last thing that I was sharing, Nick, the most important thing that I realized when I lost my mom and when I created the Ultimate International Summit, the being experience on being is the importance of presence. And I think presence is the most important to our own stories. If we could wake up to our own potential, continue to be and become the giant we were planted here to be and become.
Hmm.
Presence is the key.
Yeah, thank you, Rajan. We're going to go ahead and wrap up here, guys. This was a incredibly different show. I really love how this went. It's different than I thought it would go. And we'll do this again, Ranjan. We'll have another episode where we can have you on, and hopefully the connection's great there. But there were a lot of lessons inside of this for everybody that's watching. I mean, truly, there is nothing off the table for you. Everything you need to create your dreams and vision is already around you. So you've been planted here for a certain reason. You have gifts for this world that only you can give. You were planted with the desire that you have, whatever that desire is, because you're the ground where that can grow. And so it's up to you to really look around you and look at the resources that are available around you and start getting resourceful. How can I create what I have in mind with what I have in, around me? And then keep the momentum going on it. Keep adding fuel to it. Any kind of fuel you can add to it, just do that while you're building your dream. You don't have to do this perfectly, but you do have to act. There is still an element of action. Like Ranjan was talking about, the surrender is you don't always know how it's going to go. It's up to you to trust the pathway, right? And keep stepping. So for those of you that are watching, we appreciate you. Thank you for being on with us. We will do this again with Ranjan. We'll have him back on as a guest. We just want to say thank you for being a part of our show and helping keep this energy and momentum going with the Tribe of Giants. We invite you to go out and make it a giant day today and look around you at what's available to you and go create with it. Go create with it. Wherever you're planted, remember that you are autonomous, that you are not stuck, and that you can create anything you can imagine. We love you. Make it a giant day, and we will see you in the next episode.